All right, good evening. Welcome to another edition of Import Export Platform Facebook Live from 3Team Pest Trade Academy. We've been discussing understanding export market entry strategy, and this evening we are looking at part 10. We started from part 1 to part 2 to part 3 up until now, and now we are doing part 10. Like I said, I don't know when this will finish. Maybe around part 20, like we have for finance. Stanley Igbinoba, thank you very much for joining. Good evening and welcome. So in the morning we talked about export mode. Remember, we talked about different mode of entry into the export market. We talked about the export mode, we talked about the partnership mode, and we talked about the investment mode. So we talked about the export mode in the morning, and we talked about under export mode, we talked about the direct and indirect export. Direct and indirect export. And we talked about under indirect export, we talked about cooperative export, we talked about home country based agent, we talked about home country based merchant, and under direct we talked about home country based export department, which can be internal or outsourced. Then we talked about overseas based agent, overseas based distributor. We also talked about overseas traveling sales staff, overseas sales subsidiary, overseas sales branch, and then we talked about warehousing or storage facility overseas. Okay, so I will talk a little bit now about partnership mode. Under partnership mode, which is also called overseas production, we have the contract manufacturing. This is basically talking about strategic alliance. When you have strategic alliance, contract manufacturing, licensing, franchising, joint venture, and a host of others. Adesheun Adewale, thank you very much for joining. Good evening. Abubakar Abdulatif, thank you very much for joining. Good evening and welcome. So we have the contract manufacturing. Contract manufacturing is said to happen when I go into an export market and partner with a firm to produce for me. I'm producing abroad with the aid of a firm, a partner firm that I'm working with. I'm producing abroad. Or I do joint venture in which we both form a new entity and do the business together under one name. Or I do licensing, in which I give someone a license to produce in my company name and sell in that particular market. But whatever the case is, I'm selling in a new market, in an export market, but I'm doing that in conjunction with someone else. It becomes an investment mode when I go into that market and I do it all alone by myself. I do it all alone by myself. I do it all alone by myself. Now, let's look at this scenario. I'm looking at trying to get the scenario where we have different option of different peculiar characteristics of each of the mode that we've talked about. Sorry, 1 minute. I'm trying to sort out my notes. Now, let's look at direct and indirect export once again. So in indirect export, you can have a foreign manufacturer. That's you as the foreign manufacturer. You are selling directly to a retailer in the export market. Option 1, selling directly to a retailer in the export market as the manufacturer of the product. Or as a manufacturer, you are selling directly to a wholesaler in the export market. You are selling directly to a wholesaler in the export market. That means that wholesaler then sell to a retailer and the retailer sell to a consumer. Or as a manufacturer, you are selling to an exporter in your country. Remember, in the case of where a manufacturer sells to a retailer in the export market, that's a direct export. When an exporter sends to a wholesaler in the export market, that's also a direct export. Indirect export, as a manufacturer, I sell it to an exporter in my country, who probably is a merchant, and that exporter in my country can either sell to a retailer in the export market, or sell to an wholesaler in the export market, or sell to a large consumer in the export market. And of course, the importer in the export market sell to a retailer or sell to a consumer directly. Now, what we are trying to do is to paint different pictures and different scenarios of what will happen, especially when I'm dealing in a direct or indirect export mode. Remember, most people, especially if you are coming in newly into export business, most people will likely be dealing with direct export mode or indirect export mode. Basically working with the export mode. Remember, there is export mode, there is partnership mode, and there is investment mode. In export mode, I'm shipping directly or indirectly to the export market. In partnership mode, I'm partnering with someone else outside my country with which we are working together to be able to sell in the export market. In the investment mode, I'm going alone into the export market, produce there alone, and sell alone myself. These are options available to individuals. But like I said, most people at this point in time, especially SMEs who are trying to get into export market, are likely going to go with direct or indirect export mode. Now, let's look at another scenario. In this scenario now, we have the manufacturer, and the manufacturer is selling through an agent or through a merchant. Now, the manufacturer, like I said, can sell directly to an agent in the export market or to a merchant in the export market. The same manufacturer can sell directly to an end user, a buyer in the export market. Now, the same manufacturer can sell to a merchant in Nigeria or through an agent in Nigeria. If he's selling to a merchant in Nigeria, the merchant in Nigeria can export to a merchant abroad or export to an agent abroad to be able to get to the final buyer. If that ex-manufacturer is selling to an agent in Nigeria, the agent now connects him to either an agent abroad or to a merchant abroad. And the manufacturer can decide to set up a subsidiary in the export market and sell through that channel. Now, this is just giving us an idea of the different kind of dynamics available for me if I'm trying to enter into an export market. Different kind of dynamics available to me for me to enter into export market. And it's left to me how I want to play. But what is very important and crucial here at this particular point in time is that whichever channel you have chosen to, whichever option you are looking at, just check the pros and cons. More often than not, what you get to see is that the people who are already, who have big companies rather, tends to either look at the partnership or investment mode. Big company tends to either look at the partnership or investment mode. Of course, small company, because of the cost involved, tends to go more with the small company, because of the investment involved, tends to go more with the investment, with the export mode. With the export mode. Why? Because it's cheaper, it's easier, it's, for an SME, cost is something you really want to worry so much about, because at the end of the day, you are looking at how much capital do you have, and because the capital you have now determines how much you will be able to spend in the export market. So Generally, typically, an SME will definitely go into the export market under the mode often called the export mode. But it's very important that we understand the peculiarity of each of the options before taking the final decision. Even in the export mode, there are options available for you, even in the export mode, in which you are looking at direct or indirect option. Now, here is my take. I am of the opinion that whichever option you are choosing, ensure there is someone in the export market you can relate with directly. Ensure there is someone in the export market that you can relate with directly. If you do not have someone in the export market that you can relate to directly, the challenge you will have is having to look for buyer every now and then. But when you have an option in the export market that you can relate directly, the advantage it gives to you is that it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to always have a buyer. To always have a buyer. Having that opportunity where you always have a buyer is something you don't want to joke with. That at any point in time, there is a buyer because there's a rep at destination. For most of the transactions we do, for example, in the UK, we have a merchant there. A merchant there. In Dubai, we have a merchant there. But in China, we have an agent there. In China, we have an agent there. So, but whatever the case is for us, we either have a merchant or agent at the destination. A merchant or agent at the destination. And this is very, very important. This is very, very important. The decision concerning what specific national marketing channel to use is not simple for one. It's not a simple one for a manufacturer because of the variety of options are available. Selection of mode of entry can be based on either of two broad approaches. Number one, through experience or through analysis. A company, through its own experience or that of other firms, may decide that a particular entry mode is desirable for its product. In contrast, the same mode or any other may arrive at after making analysis of market attacks need to depend on the buying habit of potential consumer. So what is important is that before I arrive at the mode, some decide to use experience, some decide to leverage on the analysis they've done themselves. Whichever option you are choosing, let it be an informed decision. I have just informed you that we'd like to have a rep at destination. So, of course, naturally, we are not doing partnership mode, we are not doing investment mode, we are doing the export mode. Just like I said, that a typical SME will go through the export mode. But what is important is that we are going through the export mode. Which of the sub-units in the export mode? Are you doing direct? Are you doing indirect? If you are doing indirect, which option are you choosing? Are you going through an agent? Are you going through a merchant? Or you are doing cooperative export? It's very important you take a decision of which of these options you want to explore. And for a very important reason. For a very important reason. You have a reason. There are things you consider before taking that decision. Because at the end of the day, whatever decision you arrive at, you will have to now face the challenge of that decision you have taken. For example, when you decide to use the export mode, you lose control. You lose control. You lose control. When you use export mode, you lose control. You don't have control of what happened in that market. Remember, for export mode, you have a direct and indirect. Indirect export. This is when manufacturing firm does not take direct care of exporting activity. Instead, another domestic company such as export house or what is called a trading company perform that activity for them, often without the manufacturing firm involvement in the foreign sales of its product. So you are not involved in the foreign sale of your product at all under indirect export mode. But under direct export mode, this usually occurs when the manufacturing firm takes care of exporting activity and is and is in direct contact with the first intermediary in the foreign market, be it an agent or distributor, but you are in direct contact with that first intermediary in the foreign market, the firm is typically involved in handling documentation yourself, handling the physical delivery yourself, handling the pricing policy yourself, with the product being sold to an agent or distributor in the export market. And like I said, in the cooperative export, there's collaboration. In the cooperative export, there's collaboration. And with this collaboration, it becomes easier for you to be able to go into the export market. It's also very important for you to understand the fact that at the end of the day, in export mode, you are trading something for something. Now, when you are dealing in indirect mode, let's look at the four areas in the value chain that you are supposed to be in. As an exporter, you are involved in the research and development, production, marketing, and then the sales and services, delivery service itself. So when you are working with an agent, in the export market, when you are working with an agent in the export market or distributor in the export market, you undo the R&D, research and development, you undo the production, you undo the marketing, but the sales and final delivery is done by agent or distributor in the export market. It's done by agent or distributor in the export market. But when you are dealing with cooperative export, when you are doing cooperative export, research and development, production is done by you. The marketing, sales, and delivery at the destination is done through the intermediary you have engaged. For example, our clients do their production themselves. We, handling the cooperative export, do the marketing, the sales, and delivery at the final destination. We do the marketing, sales, and delivery for them at the final destination. What is important and critical here is the fact that at the end of the day, if you deal in direct or indirect export mode, you have to relinquish some part of this activity to a rep at destination to handle on your behalf. Now, by the way, the export agent or buying agent is a representative of the foreign buyer who resides in the exporter's country. When I'm dealing with an agent in my own country, that agent is a representative of the buyer in Nigeria. It's a representative of the buyer in Nigeria. And a lot of this happen often more when you are doing commodities. You don't get to see this kind of agent when you are dealing with finished products. When you are dealing with commodity, you get to have those agents right here in Nigeria, looking seriously to buy raw materials for the manufacturing company abroad. Seriously to buy raw materials for the manufacturing company abroad. Why? Because the manufacturing company is desperately in need of the product, but unfortunately, we are unable to make those products available to them as at when they need it. So what do? They send someone down here to do the job. Now, when you are dealing with a distributor, exporting firm may work through a distributor, which is an importer on the other side, now which are exclusive representative of the company and are usually the sole importer of the company product. This is exactly what we do for finished product that we export. The person we deal on the other side is the exclusive buyer. So if I'm going to do anything in the UK, I have just one company I deal with. So anything we are shipping, he handles it for us. Now, what does this do? It helps to have control over the market. The distributor category is broad and include more variation, but distributor usually seek exclusive right. Distributor usually seek exclusive right for a specific sales territory. The exclusivity is in return for substantial capital investment. If they are going to invest their time to do the marketing for you, they don't want to do the marketing and then find out that having done all the work of marketing, you are not capable to handle it for them. Having done all the work of marketing, they find out that someone else is getting assets into the market through other channels, having done such an investment. So more often than not, they want to sign an agreement that, look, we are your distributor in this market. An agent may be exclusive, where the agent has exclusive right to specify sales territory. An agent represents an exporting company and sell to a wholesaler or retailer in the importing market. The exporter ships the merchandise directly to the customer, and all arrangements for financing, credit, promotion are made between the exporter and the buyer. The exclusive agents are widely used for entering international market. They cover rare geographical area, and sometimes they have even sub-agents assisting them. Now, these are intermediary. These are intermediary. What should be your in deciding on your intermediary? What should be your basis for taking that decision? Number one, asking potential customer to suggest a suitable agent. Obtaining recommendation from institutions such as trade association on that agent. When you want to get agent, you're asking, number one, a recommendation. Don't get an agent that you don't have a recommendation of what he has done in the past. So you don't just keep wasting your time. You are dealing with someone that you are sure will be able to deliver at the end of the day. Sometimes you use a commercial agent. Sometimes you can also poach from a competitor. Now, the criteria I want to read right now are the criteria for selecting this intermediary we are talking about. Number one, the size of the firm. Number two, the fact that they have a physical facility. Number three, they are willing to carry your inventory. Number four, knowledge of how to do promotion of the product in the export market. Number five, they have reputation with buyers and other suppliers. Number six, they have record of sales performance, not just talk. Like the guy we work with, intermediary we work with in the UK, I went to his shop. I saw his own supermarket. He has about 2, probably 3 chefs, where he sells. So I have to be there and met with him, and we have conversation before we took decision eventually to go ahead. Cost of operation, overall experience in that market territory. These are very, very important criteria you want to consider before deciding on the partner you'll be working with and be engaging. And this, what's interesting about this is that this could make or mar the entire process. So you want to ensure that you choose the right agent. Adeyinka Adeniyi, thank you very much for joining. Good evening. Sadiq Olatunde Agbabiaka, thank you very much for joining. Good evening and welcome. Kemi Odumusi, thank you very much for joining. Good evening and welcome. We are still discussing the export market entry strategy. And we have looked at 3 modes. The export mode. Number 2, the partnership mode. And number 3, the investment mode. And we've talked about the fact that the export mode is what many people tend to do, especially the SME. And that the partnership mode rather, involve the like of contract manufacturing, licensing, franchising, joint venture, and any other process in which you are working with someone to be able to have access to the export market. And then the investment mode often happens when you decide to go and invest in the export market. By the way, the common brand in Nigeria that sells cement, Dangote, tends to do this investment mode in most places he has gone to. Rarely do partnership. Just go in there and invest. So this can be done largely by large corporations. Large corporations tend to do investment mode. Some of them will do partnership mode depending on the, because this is all about assessment and analysis of the export market before taking the decision. For example, looking at the partnership mode, contract manufacturing enables a firm to have foreign production without making a full commitment. Contract manufacturing enables a firm to develop and control R&D, marketing, distribution, but production is done by a partner, someone else. He will do his R&D himself, he will do the marketing himself, distribution and sale himself, but another company is handling the manufacturing. Another company is handling the production. But if you look at licensing, in licensing, you do the research and development yourself, but you sell, that give someone a license to produce, to market, to sell and deliver. You are giving someone a license to produce, to market, to sell and deliver. To produce, to license, to sell and deliver. Then we have the franchising. In franchising, you basically do R&D, you also do the marketing, but the person that you are giving that franchise does the production and does the sales. He does the production and does the sales. He does the production and does the sales. So depending on what you are looking at, for example, in that case, in joint venture, we both do the research and development together, we both do the production together, we both do the marketing together, we both do the sales and delivery together. We both do the sales and delivery together. Now, I'm going through this just for us to have an idea of exactly what it means for you to do this kind of mode. But like I said, at the end of the day, if you start, you might find yourself eventually going through one of these options. Let's say you start with export mode, you might find yourself going eventually into the partnership mode or eventually into the investment mode. But it's very important you have this at the back of your mind, that these are options available, these are possibilities available that you can explore as you find your way into the export market. Thank you very much for listening again this evening. My name remains Dele Ayimibo, and this is Import-Export Platform Facebook Live, brought to you by 3 Best Trade Academy. We'll see tomorrow morning. Remember, on weekend, we meet 7 a.m. on Saturday and 8 p.m. on Saturday. Then we meet 2 p.m. on Saturday and 2 p.m. on Sunday and 8 p.m. on Sunday. So that means on weekend, we meet 8 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. In the evening session, 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. Then on Saturday, morning session is 7 a.m. And on Sunday, the morning session come up in the afternoon by 2 p.m. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good evening and also great weekend. Bye for now.